Okay, we're going to work on some conversions and kind of the metric system in general. So I suppose we should just go ahead and start with some prefixes. The main prefixes we're going to use with the measurements we'll take in class are kilo, then we're going to have the base unit, and by base units I'm talking about the meter, the liter, and the gram. And kilo has a value of 1,000. The base units, they have a value of 1. Then we have centa, which is smaller than 1 in value. That is 1/100th in value, or we could in decimal form write 0.01. And then we have milli, which is 1/1000th in value, or 0.001. Let's see, I guess I'll put a 1 out front of base. So if you have any kind of measurement that's given in meters, liters, or grams, we're talking about 1 meter, 1 liter, and 1 gram. Let's see. The other thing we'd worked on in class is one of the things you have to know is how many of each of these prefixes are in the other. Like, in other words, how many of the base units are there in the kilo, or how many of the centas would be in a base unit, or how many millis would be in a centa something. So we had that also sketched in class. So to go from the base unit to kilo, we're talking about 1,000. There's 1,000 of any of the base units in the kilo. Then from the centa to the base unit, we have 100. Since centa means 1/100th, then that means there must be 100 hundredths in one base unit. Then for millis in a centa, if you think about this, if a milli is 1,000th of the base unit and a centa is 100th of the base unit, then there's going to be 10 of these thousandths in every 100th. So this has to be 10 then. So really the only other combination we have is how many millis would there be in a base unit. And that's going to be another 1,000, because again, if milli means 1/1000th, then there have to be 1,000 thousandths in the base unit. So this is the general setup then of the metric prefixes, at least the ones we're going to use, and their values. So let's look at a conversion real quick. So if I say we have 37.3 centimeters, and I want to know, I'm asking for what is that in meters, you have to know how to set this up. First, we always start with the measurement that we're given over 1. Then we have to develop a conversion fraction, and then we'll have a solution. So for the conversion fraction, one of the things I kept saying in class is that the unit you start with, is on the bottom, and the unit you end with is on the. Since we started with the centimeter, we'll put the centimeter in the maybe in the bottom, and since we're converting into the meters, we'll put the meter on top. So again, what you start with goes on the bottom. Starting in centimeters goes on the bottom, so we can cancel it out. What we're ending with is meters, and that goes on top. Next task is to figure out which one of those units is bigger. Is the meter bigger or is the centimeter bigger? Well, now we look at our list. They are in order from large to small. If you notice, kilo is worth 1,000, base is 1 value, centa is 100th value, and milli is 1,000th value. So largest, smaller, smaller, and smaller again. So according to this then, centa is smaller than the base unit, so the base unit is bigger. So it's going to get the base unit, meter, is going to get a 1 in our fraction. Now the question becomes, okay, so how many centimeters now are there in a meter? How many centas in a meter? Well, just look. How many centas are in the base unit of meter? 100 tells us there's 100 centimeters in a base unit of a meter. So we put 100 down here. Now, the centimeters is going to cancel centimeters because there's one on the top, one on the bottom. We have 37.3 up top, and that's being divided by 100 because the 100 is in the bottom. So as you multiply this across, and as you multiply this across, you have 37.3 meters over 100. And when you divide that, hopefully you are able to think about this way. I mean, you can use a calculator if you'd like, but 100 has 2 zeros in it. And because we're dividing, we're going to move the decimal place to the left. When you divide, it's going to move to the left, and if you multiply, it's going to move to the right. So because the 100 is in the bottom, we're going to be moving the decimal place to the left 2 places, 1 and 2. So that our answer then would have to be 0.373 meters. That should be an equal sign, not a negative sign. So 0.373 meters then for this conversion. One more, and we'll see how this goes. Let's start with, let's say we measured something and it is 67.2 centimeters, and I want that to be converted into millimeters. Well, you start with what you have over 1. Then we have to develop our conversion fraction. The unit we start with is on the bottom. Centimeters is in the bottom. The unit we're converting to is in the top. So millimeters is on top. Now you have to ask the question, which one of these is bigger? Well, if you look back at your list, milli is on the bottom of the list. Centimeter is the next up from the bottom. So centa with a value of 100th is bigger than milli with a value of 1,000th. Now the question is, how many of the millis are there in a centa? And we saw on that little chart that there's 10 millis, there's 10 thousandths in a hundredth. So we put a 10 up here. Now I want you to notice this is multiplied across this way. So this is going to cancel, the centimeters are going to cancel each other out, and then you're going to multiply this straight across this way. So we're going to have, hold on a second. Let's see, going back to our how to multiply and divide by tens, hundreds, and thousands. We have 1 0 here, and we're multiplying. So that means we're going to be moving the decimal place 1 place for 1 0, and it's going to go to the right this time because we are multiplying. So that's going to be 672 millimeters over 1, because 1 times 1 is 1. 67.2 times 10 is 672 millimeters. So we really don't need the over 1 part. So 672 millimeters then is our conversion. So hopefully this helps, and hopefully you can do a little more practice with some of the resources I've included online. Thanks.